Hey ladies, welcome to another Friday Live this week. Let's see, let me get my camera set here. Okay, this week we're going to talk about if it fits your macros. Ooh, my screen is doing strange things. I don't know if y'all can see it or not. It keeps like zooming in and out on me. I hope that's okay. So anyway, we're going to talk about if it fits your macros. So basically, why we want to track macros and a little bit of the how, maybe a few pointers, things like that. If you have any questions about macros at all, please feel free to put them in the comments. And if I don't address them in this live, I'll respond to you in the comments, or I might even just go ahead and set up another live based on some of your questions. That would actually be really helpful for me if I knew what questions y'all had, and I could make sure that I'm catering these sessions to the things that you want. So please don't be shy. Go ahead and put that in the comments. All right, so let's roll. So basically, I just want to start with what are macros. So all food is made up of macros, and the macros are carbs, fat, protein, and alcohol, the one that we don't really talk about a whole lot. And every macro contains a set number of calories per gram. And so when you add all of those macros up together, it creates your total calories for the day. So carbs and protein, we call it protein, I don't know what that is. Carbs and protein are each 4 calories per gram of carb per gram of protein. Fat has 9 calories per gram, and alcohol has 7 calories per gram. So you might notice, like if you're drinking, like a lot of these seltzers and things that are out now, you might notice that, oh, it only has like whatever, 20 carbs or something, but the calories are much more. If you do 20 times 4 calories per gram, that's 80, but the calories in it might be like 150. And the reason that there's sort of that discrepancy is because of the alcohol calories that don't really get acknowledged much. And we're certainly are not going to find alcohol tracking in an app like MyFitnessPal or something. So you end up needing to take those calories from like carbs and fat. I can get into that another day though. That's sort of a separate animal. But so those are your macros, and that's how many calories per gram they are. So I get asked a lot of times if people say, you know, should I track calories or should I track macros? And they're similar, kind of one and the same. So if you're tracking your macros, by default, you're automatically tracking your calories. They'll add up to your total calories. So the only difference is that macros get much more detailed and specific into where exactly all of your calories are coming from, whereas someone who's just tracking calories can be eating it from anything. Like you could technically lose weight and be in a calorie deficit by only eating Twinkies all day long if you wanted to. I don't recommend it, but you could. So macros help us get a lot more specific in making sure that we are eating specifically, most importantly, I think, protein, and making sure that we're getting enough of that in our diet to make sure that it is helping us meet whatever goals we might have. So protein's a big one. Most people do not eat enough protein, and so when we look at our food and specifically our macros, that can really be very telling and help us figure out what ways that we can kind of tweak our diet on the day-to-day to help make the biggest bang for our buck. So if your goal is to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. Like there's no getting around that. And so the only way to, that's the only way to lose weight. So to be in a calorie deficit, you could eat less, you could exercise more, you could increase your NEAT activity. We talked about that in a couple of lives a little while ago. So non-exercise activity. So things like parking in the back of the parking lot, doing laundry, all of those just regular movements that help us to burn calories. And then there's another one that isn't talked about a whole lot that's called the thermic effect of food. It's abbreviated TEF. And we can really use that to our advantage when we're tracking macros. Or you can do any combination of those things to help you be in a calorie deficit. So let's talk about that thermic effect of food. Protein is where it's at. Protein burns about 30% of its calories just digesting. So it takes longer to digest, so it helps you to feel fuller longer. And because it's burning so many of its calories just in digestion, there's less calories left over, right, to be converted to like fat or whatever in your body. So even though it burns those 30%, you're getting 100% of the benefits in muscle repair, recovery, muscle growth, retaining muscle, keeping your muscle. If you're in a calorie deficit, it's very often that people will lose muscle in a calorie deficit. And also, we just need protein all the way down to a cellular level in our body for cellular repair and things like that. So you're still getting all of those benefits of it, but only 70% of protein calories actually stay with us, where it gets used for energy and things like that. And too much of it, like anything, any other calories, too much of anything will be stored as fat. So the protein is a huge one, and we can really use that thermic effect of food to our advantage by increasing the amount of protein that we eat, decreases the amount of calories, right, overall, because so much of that is burned in digestion. So I hope that makes sense. If not, please leave some comments so I can clarify that a little better. So a common split for your macros is to you find your total number of calories and take 35% of those and keep those for protein, 35% of the calories for carbs, and then 30% for fat. And so notice, I want to point out, 35% protein, 35% carbs. We're not afraid of carbs. Carbs are not the enemy. Please stop cutting carbs. Please, please, please. If you get anything from this video, it's that I want you to go eat some carbs. So before you start to figure out the exact grams of your macros, one thing I recommend for everybody is to track your food for like 3 days. Just your normal day-to-day. Don't change anything because you know that you're tracking. Just your regular life. Track it in like MyFitnessPal, or there's one called My Macros. There's a few different apps that you can use. Track your food for a few days and just see where you are. And that's going to end up being really, really helpful on the back end of this. So 3, 4, 5 days, whatever, you track your food. And then you're going to go ahead and try to figure out, what should I be eating? How many calories, how many macros, and all that. So the first thing you need to know before macros are your calories. So you want to know how many calories do you need to eat to reach whatever your goals are, whether it's weight loss, muscle gain, whatever it might be. There's lots and lots of calculators online that can help you do that. Just be mindful when you are using the online calculators that those literally are just calculators doing the math. They're not taking into consideration you as a human at all. As a coach, when I track calculate macros, I do I do the math as well, but then I take into account a lot of things like this person's job, how active or not active are they, hobbies, amount of activity. Hopefully online calculators also are asking some of those questions, but not always. I also consider if this person has been in a calorie deficit for recently and for how long. I consider there's lots of other things that take into consideration their age, things like that when we're calculating as a human. So when you're using the online ones, just remember it's just using the math, and so don't be so focused on it like it's the end all be all. So there's definitely a lot of wiggle room when it comes to things like calculators, like for calories and for macros. Everybody's different. So what works for your friend is not necessarily going to work for you. So you have to be willing to be a little bit flexible and kind of adjust as you go. If things don't seem to be working, feel free to make adjustments. That calculator is not like the end all be all. So you put it in the calculator. You've got your calories. So here's where the math comes in. I used to be a math teacher. This is my favorite thing in the world. So what you do is you're going to find your whole calorie number, and you're going to find 35%. So your number times 0.35 in your calculator, and that's going to give you a number. So that's going to give you the number of calories that you're going to eat in protein and the number of calories you're going to eat in carbs, because remember, they're the same for right now. So you're going to take that number now and divide it by 4, because there are 4 calories in every gram of protein and in every gram of carbs. So you'll take that number, divide it by 4, and that is going to be the number of grams of protein and carbs that you are going to want to eat for the day. So let's pretend it came out to 150, just for a nice even round number. So you got 150, it's 150 grams of protein, 150 grams of carbs, and so that uses up 70% of your total calories for the day, because 35 plus 35 is 70. So now you're left with 30%. So take again your total calorie number, find 30% of that times 0.3, and that will give you the number of calories that are going to go towards fat. Now remember, fat has 9 calories per gram, so you have to divide it by 9, and then that's going to tell you how many grams of fat in the day. So you've got your protein and your carbs from before. Now you've got your fat. Let's say fat's around 60, 65, 70, something like that. And that's your total. That's all your 3 macros for the day with your total number of calories. Okay. So once you've got it, now I want you to go back. Remember the 3 days or 3 to 5 days that you tracked when we first started? You're going to go back to those 3 to 5 days, and you want to look, and how do those 3 to 5 days, my total, my calories and my protein, carbs, and fat, how does that match up with the new numbers I just calculated? And so that is going to give you a really good idea of adjustments that you might want to make. So when you look at it and you say, wow, I need 150 protein, but I only ate 60 protein most of these days, which is very common for most women that I work with. It is very, very normal for women new to this to only be eating between 50 and 80 grams of protein per day, which is really, really, really low. You need a lot more than that. Most of us, almost all of us, need a lot more than that. So that's going to give you, okay, I need more protein. What can I do? So head on over to Pinterest, right? Go start looking up some good chicken recipes. Start eating low-fat Greek yogurt, low-fat cheese, eggs, egg whites, beef jerky, turkey pepperoni, turkey bacon. Okay, there's all the protein things. So just start looking at ways that you can start adding that stuff into what you already eat. So the big idea is that this needs to be sustainable. If you're going to take these numbers and completely overhaul everything that you do, there's a real good chance you're not going to stick with it. So look at what you're already doing and see how you can tweak it to meet your new numbers. So I don't want you to make complete and utter changes unless you really are just eating Twinkies all day long. Do change that. So maybe you're noticing that what you ate in those 3 to 5 days was way too many carbs and not enough protein or fat. So look at what your carb sources are. Maybe you really like rice. So instead of regular rice, switch to Banza brand rice, which will also give you a little hit of protein, and it's also lower carb. So things like that. You're just going to make all these little tweaks to what you're already doing just to make what you're doing now work for you a little bit better. Okay. A lot of times, I'll be honest, when it comes down to just simply tracking the food, actually measuring out servings or weighing it out is even better if you have a digital food scale. A lot of times just the awareness that comes with that is going to be sufficient to help you reach your goals. You're going to be just paying a lot more attention to what you're doing, and that alone is going to help you start to lose weight if that's your goal. So I just want to super reinforce, sustainable is the goal here. I do not want you to go into your kitchen and throw away everything and go buy a bunch of chicken breast and broccoli. That is completely unnecessary. Keep doing what you're already doing. Enjoy the foods that you enjoy, just maybe in different amounts. Maybe you only eat some of those really enjoyable, I guess, foods, maybe only a few times a week instead of every day. Maybe you, like I said, just eat less of it, or just find swaps of things that are similar to it that that you can add in instead. Like I said, low fat things like low fat Greek yogurt, low fat cheese, things like Banza brand rice, even pasta. If you really like pasta, nothing wrong with pasta. Like I said before, I want you eating those carbs, but maybe get a protein pasta instead, like Banza, or there are some other brands. I think Berea makes like red lentil and things like that. There's other little swaps that you can make to help you get that boost of protein, maybe a few less carbs, and you're still enjoying all the same foods that you eat. So I think that's super, super, super critical. That a lot of people sort of miss out when they're starting off on their journey to eating healthier and better nutrition, is they think that they need to just completely overhaul and change everything. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to stick with what you love, just make it work for you within your goals. So the last thing I'm going to say before we sign off here is that I want you to be giving yourself grace. You are not going to be perfect right away. There are going to be times that you cry. I tell people a story all the time about how I started doing this, and I walked out to my husband on our back porch one day with a bag of Doritos and straight up cried holding a bag of Doritos. That really happened. He's actually sitting here right now during this live shaking his head. Yep, that really happened, and I'll never forget the day I cried over that bag of Doritos. So there will be frustration, there might be tears, but it's normal. You will get the hang of it. It definitely gets easier as you go. I no longer cry about Doritos Doritos. I won't lie to y'all, I had Doritos with dinner yesterday because I can make it work within my numbers now. I know better. I understand it better. So give yourself grace, be patient. If things get off track, if you end up going out for a meal you didn't expect or things like that, the goal is to just get right back on track as soon as you can. That shouldn't be a, oh, that's it, I just ruined everything, and then you just go completely crazy with it. Don't wait until Monday to restart. Don't wait until the first of the month. Don't wait until the first of the year. This is a lifestyle that you're going to be doing forever. This is not a diet. This is a lifestyle. It's learning a healthy lifestyle. And that is just never ends, so there's really no rush. Give yourself grace, be patient, make those little swaps wherever you can, and just keep on rolling. Please feel free to ask questions or even share ideas. If you have things that you've experienced that have really helped you, feel free to put those in the comments too. Whatever we can do to help everybody in this group, the more we got, the better. So I thank you for listening, and I thank you for being here. Please don't be shy and don't be afraid to add some comments in the comment box. If you have any suggestions about future Friday Lives, I would love to hear them. And I hope you all have a fantastic week. I'll see you later.